Hey everybody, one and all, and welcome to another kind of exciting episode of Real Deal. I say kind of exciting because, hey, it's news, and sometimes news is not the greatest news, so being exciting is all relative, isn't it? Anyway, my name is Andrew Fantasia. Thank you so much for watching, tuning in. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up and give some love to that subscribe button as well. With that out of the way, let's get down to business. What happened in the world of entertainment news this past week? Well, there is one giant kind of thing. For this first piece of news, I would suggest that you buckle up, baby. Mr. Billy Dee Williams has been rumored to be in Star Wars Episode 9 for the longest time now. People have been whispering about it. People have been whispering about it happening in 8 and happening in 7, and it never did. Disney has finally just said, you know what, let's just make it official and shut these kids up already. Yes, it is true. Uncle Lando is finally coming over to visit, and he'll be here December 20th, 2019, when Star Wars Episode 9 hits theaters. We're finally getting Lando. Lando is coming back. And this, of course, is great news. You know, I can't think of a single person that I know in the Star Wars community who's like, I don't really feel like seeing Lando. I'd much rather see General Rankin at this point. I don't know anybody who's talking like that. So we are, of course, very glad to have Lando back. Now, granted, I've said before, I don't think this is going to be anything more than like a quick scene like Maz Kanata had in Episode 8. I think he's going to be behind a desk. You know, he might stand up, shake somebody's hand, and smirk at the camera and be like, don't worry, I've got people, I've got resources. You want some money? Here's some money. All right, the war is on, baby. And then that's it. And I'm fine with that. You know, he's there. I'm not expecting him to jump around and shoot a bunch of stormtroopers and then grab Rey's lightsaber and be like, let me see that for a second. I'm pretty sure that's not the case. So I'm just setting myself up for a really fun cameo, and I think it is going to be everything we've ever dreamed of in terms of seeing our old pal Uncle Lando once again. And sticking on the Episode 9 front, guess who else has officially been cast? Keri Russell. Now, it has not been announced who Keri Russell is playing, but I have a theory. And the theory is just that Keri Russell is playing a small role as maybe an X-Wing pilot or a soldier or a diplomat for the New Republic or something. And the reason I think that is because of this guy right here, Mr. Snap Wexley. He is played by Greg Grunberg, and Greg Grunberg is a very good friend of J.J. Abrams, and he's in everything J.J. ever does. And Keri Russell is also very tight with J.J. She was Felicity, and Felicity was JJ's show. So I think it's the same kind of thing, you know? He's like reaching out to his old friends, and he's like, hey, Keri, I'm making the last movie in the Star Wars saga here. You want to climb on board and be in it for a bit? And she's like, yeah, sure, I got nothing else to do. I mean, I'm Keri Russell. That to me spells out, you know, another character like Snap Wexley, who is just going to show up for a little bit and have a few lines here and there, but it's not going to be anything super critical. Like, I'm not counting on Keri Russell to have as much screen time as like Holdo from Episode 8 or something like that. I doubt that very much. But that's the beautiful thing about Star Wars, is that there are no small characters. Everybody's got a name, everybody's got a backstory, and everybody eventually gets a book about them. So, yeehaw. Welcome aboard, Keri. Glad to have you on the team. This next piece of casting news is very interesting. Winston Duke. That's a name you might recognize if you are a big Black Panther fan. Winston Duke played M'Baku, the man-ape, chief of the gorilla tribe there. He was one of the standout characters in that film. I've known Winston Duke since back in the days of Person of Interest. That's where I first discovered him. And if you have not seen the show Person of Interest, I highly recommend you watch it. It is a very intense, very fun show. Duke plays a character named Minnie, which is a pun because he's so tall. Why am I talking about Winston Duke? Well, because he has just been cast to play MMA fighter Kimbo Slice in a biopic about the man. Now, I don't know a whole lot of anything when it comes to UFC and mixed martial arts and all that stuff. All I know is two guys go into an octagon and they hug each other for like 40 minutes, and then one of the guys comes out looking like this. Ouch. But Kimbo Slice is one of the few names in the sport that I am familiar with. Winston Duke is an actor I'm familiar with, so this might be kind of an interesting story. Granted, I think Kimbo Slice is a little bit young to be having a biopic. I don't know how old he is, but to me a biopic should be about somebody who's either dead or like on their way out the door. You know what I mean? Oh, he's actually dead. Well, now I feel stupid. But we'll see what happens. I like Winston Duke, so I'm on board with whatever he does. All I know is the makeup department for that movie has their work cut out for them. Stop showing that. Early reactions from very lucky critics who got to see early screenings are finally pouring in on two of the summer's biggest upcoming movies, being Mission Impossible Fallout and Skyscraper. What are critics saying about these movies? Well, you will be happy to hear that most of the reviews for both of these movies are very, very positive. In terms of Skyscraper, people are saying that if you just go in expecting an action movie that just happens to have Die Hard-like qualities, you are in for one hell of a fun time. And that's what Skyscraper has always looked like to me anyway. I'm not expecting a John McClane kind of story. I'm just expecting The Rock in a sci-fi with a big building and a fake leg. What more could you ask for? Mission Impossible Fallout is getting even more rave reviews from a bunch of critics. The general consensus from critics who've seen it seems to be that the action was so relentless that it left them physically breathless by the end of the movie, and a lot of them, being filmmakers themselves, had a hard time figuring out how director Christopher McQuarrie managed to pull off some of those stunts. That's how impressive they were. One critic even went to say that the bathroom fight that these characters have that we see in the trailer is worth the price of admission alone. So reviews like this make me happy. I usually don't listen to what critics say. You know, I don't really let that sway my vote. I just kind of go and see things that look fun. But it's always nice to hear ahead of time that people are digging what you're hoping you're going to be digging. Maybe this means a couple summers from now we'll get a crossover where Tom Cruise and The Rock have to climb that building again, but this time they have to climb it upside down because spies. And finally, one of my favorite franchises ever is Indiana Jones, and I know a lot of people out there agree with me. Now, Disney and Lucasfilm have gone on record many times and they've said, hey, we're making Indiana Jones 5 and it's going to be Harrison Ford again, so get ready for that. And we have been waiting patiently ever since. You know, most of the attention's on Star Wars, but sneakily they've been working on this indie film in the background all this time. Well, if you're excited and you can't wait for Indiana Jones 5, looks like you're going to have to wait just a little bit longer because the movie was in fact delayed by about a year. This is okay. It was so far out to begin with that doesn't really affect me too much. It's not like it was coming out tomorrow or something. But I like the idea that Steven Spielberg and Jonathan Kasdan are taking their time with the script and making sure it's up to par. Because Steven himself was not the biggest fan of Crystal Skull, and since this is probably going to be the last time Harrison Ford puts on the fedora, we want to make sure that he kind of goes out on the highest note possible. And I think that everybody involved is on that same wavelength. So, when can we see Indiana Jones 5? It is coming out July 9th, 2021. Less than 3 years. That's fine with me. Less than 3 years. Now it's just a matter of speculating what Indiana Jones is going to be finding, what treasures he'll be unearthing. There's been rumors about the lost city of Atlantis for ever. Even back before Crystal Skull came out. So my money's on Atlantis, but who knows? What do you think Indy's going to find? Chime in the comments. Let me know. I think he's going to find Atlantis, Carmen Sandiego, and Waldo all in one fell swoop. Because he's that kind of guy. But that has been Real Deal. Thank you so much for joining me to talk about all the news that's not fit to print. My name is Andrew Fantasia. I will see you here next time. Same place, same channel. Until then, you better buckle up, baby.